If you're a mech fan, you are missing out if you're not playing this game. I was fortunate enough to be one of the creators invited by Amazing Season Games to try out Mecha BREAK in the early access phase of the open beta, and this game has been scratching the itch that I've had since I beat Armored Core 6. The game has amazing mech designs, gorgeous environments, fluid movement, and fast-paced combat. What more could you want? So what is Mecha BREAK? Well, to put it in simple terms, it's basically a hero shooter but with mechs instead of characters. I mean, when you think about it, that's pretty similar to Gundam Evolution. Too soon? Moving on. Mecha BREAK combines the high-speed mech combat of a game like Armored Core with the PvP team hero shooter format of something like Overwatch. In this playtest, we had access to 13 different strikers, and the main focus was the Battlefield mode, which consists of 5 maps that each feature a different game mode. You could also take on the challenge mode, where completing 5 challenges with a specific striker would grant you a title, and the training mode if you wanted to get familiar with the striker before taking it into an actual match. There are 2 other modes called Ace Arena and Mashmac that you can see in the tactical station screen, but those weren't playable, so we'll just have to wait for the full release to see what they're all about. The Hangar lets you switch between strikers and customize both your striker and your pilot, and oh my god, the level of customization is crazy, especially when it comes to your character. Look at this, so you start off by selecting basic features like a face shape, eyes, nose, whatever, but every single one of these options has an advanced menu where you can tweak every little setting you could possibly think of. I stuck with some pretty basic stuff, but you could easily spend an hour in here getting your perfect look right. You have a lot of freedom with the customization on your striker too, with a lot more painted areas than there were in Armored Core 6, so you can have even more color separation if you want. I think the only part where it falls short of Armored Core is that you can't paint arms individually, but other than that, you have way more detail in this game. Colors for painting are unlocked either by purchasing them with currency or by opening paint kits from the Matrix contract, which is just this game's version of a battle pass. You can also outfit your striker with mods, and these all seem to provide 1 stat buff and 1 stat debuff. These mods come from supply crates, which are earned either from the Matrix contract or from missions that you can acquire before going into battle that require you to complete specific objectives. So let's talk a little bit about strikers and how they work. First of all, if you're a Gundam fan, you're going to notice a lot of similarities and references that are going to make you chuckle. You've got Narukami looking very similar to G Arcane, Panther has a lance and has a similar design to Kamar's Vidar, Pinaka has a ring on its back like Stargazer but can deploy a shield that looks like Hyperion's, stuff like that. But anyway, like I mentioned already, there are 13 strikers in the playtest, and each of these is identified by a weight and a role or class. There are 4 weights: light, medium, heavy, and ultra heavy, and there are 5 classes: attacker, defender, brawler, sniper, and support. By looking at these, you can kind of get an idea of how they affect a striker's stats. Lighter strikers are going to have better handling and less armor and are stronger in solo combat, whereas heavier ones are going to be a lot slower but have more armor and be stronger in team combat. The same goes for the class. A support has almost no damage options, so it's going to have basically no combat range but have high support and team combat stats, whereas a sniper is going to have a lot more combat range. But even among strikers of the same class, they can fill very different roles. Aquila as a heavy sniper can afford to play further up and does much better in solo combat, whereas the light sniper Narukami has stealth skills that are good for supporting teammates and picking at enemies from far away. And what I really like about how they design the strikers is that each one really does fit into the role that it's meant to play, and I'll give you a couple of examples from my sessions. In this first clip, I'm playing as Falcon on Mercury Shipyards, which is a mode where you have to escort a transport, and I'm up against a Tricera. My striker is a light attacker, and Tricera is an ultra heavy defender, and this is what I mean when I say we fit into our roles. I'm able to zoom around at super high speed to stay alive while absolutely wailing on him with attacks, but because he's such a chonker, he's able to just sit on that objective to progress it until he eventually runs out of health. Another example is this clip from my first match as Stego, which is an ultra heavy attacker. Right from the jump, I post up on this ridge overlooking where the first objective spawns, enter my turret form, and rain fire on the other team and manage to secure 2 kills. I basically did the same thing for the rest of the match, looking for vantage points to set up and bombard the enemy team, and I ended up getting MVP with an ace medal and 12 kills. If you learn your striker's strengths and play to them, you can really become a pain in the ass for the other team to deal with. Next, let's go over the 5 modes in Battlefield. Remember that each mode is tied to a specific map, meaning that when you matchmake and see what map you're going to be playing, you know immediately which mode it is and you can adjust your striker if you need to. The first map is Eye of Mizra, where both teams race to upload launch keys to a launch site. Keys will spawn periodically at one of 3 data terminals around the map, and players must grab the keys and race back to the central launch facility. The terrain on this map is mostly flat, but there are quite a few obstacles, and one of the terminals is even inside a facility, so keep that in mind. I found that transformable strikers like Skyraider and Falcon were really strong here because if you're fast enough, you can grab a key and zoom over to the site while everyone else is still fighting by the terminal. But if you get caught, it'll be hard to defend yourself in such a small area, so I've played against some teams that will move together towards the site with a defender too. Mercury Shipyards is a shipping dock where both teams are escorting a transport vehicle across the map, and you can speed up your progress by activating consoles along the way. Defenders and other heavy strikers are really strong here because you need to be standing on the vehicle to move it, so the longer you can survive, the better. This map is one where you really want to play to the strengths of your striker because different strikers are useful in different areas. In the outdoor sections that have lots of verticality, light or transformable strikers like Falcon or Skyraider again are going to have a huge advantage because they can make use of that open space. But once the transport moves inside the facility where it's a lot more cramped, they won't be able to take advantage of their mobility, and this is where defenders or even brawlers like Workin or Panther can dominate. A quick tip to remember in this mode is that you can actually stand on the other team's transport to make it progress backward. So if your team is moving yours forward and you manage to clear out any enemies on top of their transport, it may be worth sabotaging them if you can. Crowd Sinkhole is basically domination from Call of Duty or control from Destiny if you've played either of those games. You capture 3 locations on the map and hold them to earn points. The middle of the map is where a good chunk of the fighting happens, and just like with the shipyard map, high mobility strikers are going to do really well here. The other 2 points are in the caves on the side of the map, and these areas are a lot more suited for brawlers and defenders. I also found that Narukami was really fun to play on this map because there are a lot of areas for you to grapple to and go stealth while you snipe. Graceland Sky City is the home of a classic deathmatch mode where the only objective is to eliminate the other team, taking place over 3 rounds. The first team to win 2 rounds wins the match, and if rounds get dragged out too long, something called an EIC haze will continuously damage all strikers in the area. Each round takes place in a different arena, but all 3 of them are large domes and have a ton of verticality, which makes for good vantage points for snipers, as well as high firepower strikers like Stego or Hurricane. Last but not least, Cape Blanc Observatory is Mecha BREAK's version of a defuse the bomb type mode, but slightly different than how most games do it. Rather than having an attacking and defending team, Stratum Shatterers will spawn around the map and both teams need to race to defuse them. The team that reaches the score limit first or has more defuses when time runs out is the winner. This map has a mix of high mountain ranges and low valleys, so you have a lot of options when it comes to your striker. I found Stego to be really strong here because I could set up in my turret mode on vantage points and provide suppressing fire, but you could also opt for a transformable striker like Falcon to take advantage of the open air. Defenders will be great for locking down objectives while you try to defuse, and on the flip side, brawlers can use their melee skills to stop the other team from defusing. Next I want to talk about the gameplay itself because the number one question I seem to be getting from people on my socials is how does it feel to play and is it fun? The short answer is yes, the gameplay feels great and the movement for the most part is very fluid. I do have 2 small gripes though, the first being the difference between boosting and moving normally. If you played AC6, you'll remember that your AC would hover around at a decent speed, and then if you wanted a boost or needed to dodge, you could quick boost to dash in a specific direction. In Mecha BREAK, the movement is really fast when you're boosting, but it grinds to a halt as soon as you stop and just move normally, so if you ever fully run out of energy, it feels like you're moving at a snail's pace until you get it back. The other thing that threw me off a lot when I first started was the lack of a camera lock option. In this game, you lock onto enemies when you're looking at them so that your weapons track properly, but if they move out of your line of sight, your camera doesn't automatically follow them, you need to manually move it yourself. I am getting used to this now that I've played a little more, but it reminds me of when I first started playing AC6 and I didn't know how to lock onto enemies because it makes it very difficult to track fast moving targets. Mecha BREAK's movement is even faster than Armored Core's, so sometimes it can be a little difficult to be constantly adjusting your camera in combat. I do like how the controls feel though. Every striker has a main weapon and sidearm which are bound to your left and right click on PC, and then 3 auxiliary weapons which are bound to your 1, 2, and 3 number keys. Personally, I don't like reaching up there on my keyboard, so I swap them to my side buttons on my mouse and they feel perfectly natural now. And depending on the striker, those extra weapons may be more like skills, ranging from transforming into a flight mode to generating a barrier to summoning decoy drones. Because of how the strikers are designed, there's a lot of room for coordinated team play too. You can have a defender sitting on an objective with a support nearby to provide them with constant heals, a sniper picking off enemies from a vantage point in the distance, and attackers going out and hunting enemy strikers before they can get close. I haven't played with an actual group yet, but I imagine it'll be very fun coming up with different team comps and coordinating together. Now, as far as we know, this game is PvP only, and although I'm still enjoying it despite not generally being a PvP player, I think that's a bit of a miss. Again, we don't know what those other two modes are, but at the end of the intro mission when you first start the game, there's a boss battle where you fight against a giant mech with 2 other AI strikers. I think having raid bosses or some other form of co-op quest would be really fun, and I think it's a shame that a game this well designed is limited to just PvP. Then again, that's just my personal bias. I'm sure the devs made this game with a specific vision in mind, and at the end of the day, it's still fun. That's everything I've got for this breakdown / first impressions on Mecha BREAK. Overall, this game is a breath of fresh air, and it's really nice to see a new mecha game that's this polished. I want to give a big thank you to Amazing Season Games for inviting me to try it out, and as a reminder, if you're watching this video fairly soon after it comes out, that the beta opens up for everyone to try on PC from August 9th to the 13th. And even though this beta is only on PC, the game will be available on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S when it fully releases. If you're a Gundam or Armored Core fan, give this one a shot. You might be surprised how much you like it. If you've already had a chance to try out Mecha BREAK, I want to hear your thoughts below in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling about the gameplay and drop your favorite striker as well. Personally, I'm having a lot of fun with Stego. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a positive rating to help me in my boss battle against the algorithm. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.